the Meyer Lansky reached out to Lucky Luciano, met with them, and told him that we need to be patriots without any promise as far as Mr. Luciano at that time was incarcerated. We're not going to, there's no deal on the table. You're going to do it because you're a patriot. We need the cooperation of the longshoremen to protect against espionage and sabotage in the port of New York.
Correct.
Lucky Luciano sent the message to Saxlanza, who was in charge, together with Eddie McGrath, and they got the cooperation. Whether in fact they were effective, they were not effective. Meyer Lansky, I believe, wound up with a Medal of Honor for his cooperation.
Really?
Lucky Luciano eventually was pardoned by the governor of the state of New York, who was the prosecutor who sent him to jail on false charges of prostitution by the name of Thomas Dewey.
Wait, Dewey? I didn't know Dewey pardoned him.
He pardoned him on the condition he not remain in the United States.
That must have pissed him off lovely.
Well, it was the Department of Navy that leaned on Tom Dewey, but Dewey also, when he was the prosecutor, cooperated with Charles Heffenden, who was the chief intelligence officer of the United States Navy, that said that we need the mob's cooperation. Oh, it's all contained in a book called Operation Underworld. Now, that same Operation Underworld extended to Sicily because the invasion of Europe took place in Sicily.
Correct.
All right. The mob played a very effective role. The mob in the United States and the mob in Sicily, at the request of Lucky Luciano. And by the way, Vito Genovese was there at that time, but Genovese.
Yeah, but he was also working for Mussolini at the time.
But not necessarily working for Mussolini. He was working for Genovese. Mussolini was anti-mafia. He was a northern Italian.
Correct.
That really had no use for the mafia, and the mafia had no use for him.
Yeah, but then why did he hire Genovese? Because he had the Iron Prefect Cesare Morti went in and like dismantled the mob, and then Genovese went to Italy and went to work for El Duce. I never understood that.
He might have claimed that he worked for Mussolini, or Mussolini may have claimed that, or history may have written that he claimed, but Vito Genovese was making money for Vito Genovese when he was there.
Yeah, true.
I think that Vito Genovese left the United States over a potential homicide case, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, was my understanding.
Okay, so he wasn't Lucky Luciano in this particular case, who had the power to send a message to the mob, to the mafia in Sicily, and said, "We need your cooperation." Right?
Got it. So then,
and everybody in the south part of Italy, in Sicily, Calabria, Naples, Apulia, Varese, and so forth. Everybody, if you had a little postcard, if you had a picture, if you had a description, you submitted it to intelligence, so that when when the Allied forces invaded via Sicily, all right, we had a gigantic advantage of knowing every blade of grass that grew in southern Italy, where the mountains were, where the valleys were, where the trees were, where this was. It was a fantastic, fantastic operation, the cooperation of the natives. And then the other thing, of course, is that after the war was over, I started to tell you that the Jewish mob played a tremendous role in the supply of weapons and arms, contrary to the Neutrality Act, that was a criminal act that was invoked by Truman, who, by the way, was the guy that the president of the United States, who recognized the state of Israel, but actually set it up for destruction, because we didn't have a bullet to fire in order to defend ourselves. The minute that Ben-Gurion declared the state of Israel, the next day, the 5 or 6 Arab armies of Iraq, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and so forth invaded Israel.
Yeah.
We were only 600,000 Jews at that time. Half of them were bones, had been survivors of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle of miracles. However, thank God, Israel was able to survive.
So hold on, because we're gonna be wrapping up soon. give us a little bit. Let's kind and we're going to continue. We're going to do it. We're going to do a part 3. I can listen to Myron talk forever. It's a meaningful conversation, a meaningful discussion, but we'll leave a little bit for part 3, but just kind of wrap up what happened when Meyer Lansky got, kind of suppressed. And did he just kind of, beat up some Nazis, or did he work to suppress Nazism here in the U.S.?
Well, no, he had that. He had 1 or 2 incidents up in Yorkville, but the major factor of the real patriotism of Meyer Lansky was Operation Underworld, where he went and saw Lucky Luciano in jail, in Dannemore prison up in.
Yes.
So he told Lucky Luciano, "There's no deal here. Either we're going to be patriots or we're not patriots." And Lucky Luciano agreed to be patriot.
Wow.
Because the Department of Navy was concerned. Who are your longshoremen? It's split between 2 peoples. One group of people